What if some of the technologies shaping your daily life didn't come from modern laboratories, but from ancient indigenous civilizations? From the frozen Arctic to the jungles of South America, Native Americans developed groundbreaking inventions: kayaks, medicine, engineering systems, and agricultural techniques, long before Europe's Industrial Revolution. Yet for centuries, these innovations were overlooked, misunderstood, or claimed by others. Today, we uncover the forgotten brilliance behind 11 Native American inventions still shaping the modern world. When early European explorers arrived in the Americas, they encountered societies with astonishing technological knowledge. So advanced were these innovations that some Europeans invented myths, claiming Native Americans descended from lost civilizations, simply to explain their achievements. But the truth was far simpler. Indigenous peoples possessed deep environmental knowledge, scientific understanding, and engineering skill developed over thousands of years. Let's explore the innovations that changed the world. Number 1. Rubber, the birth of modern materials. Long before factories and industrial chemistry, indigenous civilizations in Central and South America mastered the science of latex. By harvesting sap from rubber trees and carefully mixing it with plant extracts, they transformed sticky liquid into strong, elastic, waterproof material. This wasn't accidental discovery, it was applied chemistry. The Olmec, Maya, and Aztec used rubber to make bouncing balls for ritual games, waterproof containers, footwear, and protective clothing suited to tropical climates. When European explorers encountered rubber in the 16th century, they were witnessing a material science breakthrough centuries ahead of Europe. But raw rubber was unstable, brittle in cold weather, and melting in heat, limiting its early use. That changed in 1839 when Charles Goodyear developed vulcanization, a heating process using sulfur that made rubber durable and resilient. This single innovation turned indigenous material knowledge into the backbone of industrialization. Today, rubber is essential to transportation, tires, medicine, gloves, tubing, manufacturing, and even aerospace. What began as indigenous chemistry in the rainforest became one of the foundations of modern technology, a reminder that innovation did not begin in factories, but in forests. Number 2. Kayaks, engineering for survival. In the Arctic, survival wasn't optional, it was engineered. The Inuit developed the kayak as a precision tool for one of the harshest environments on Earth. Built from driftwood or whalebone frames and tightly stretched sealskin, the vessel was light enough to carry, yet strong enough to cut through icy waters. Its narrow body reduced drag. Its low profile made it nearly invisible to prey, and the sealed cockpit design prevented water from flooding the boat, allowing hunters to stay dry and even roll upright if capsized. What looked simple was actually highly advanced hydrodynamic design. Every kayak was custom-built to fit the paddler's body, turning boat and human into a single unit. It wasn't just transportation, it was survival technology. Modern kayaks now use fiberglass, plastic, and carbon fiber, but the fundamental shape and structure remain almost unchanged. In a world before industrial shipbuilding, Arctic engineers had already perfected efficiency, balance, and performance, proving that innovation often begins where survival demands perfection. This video explores documented indigenous innovations based on historical research, ethnographic records, and academic sources. Many of these technologies were developed collectively by different indigenous cultures across the Americas over long periods of time. Attribution may vary by region, tribe, or historical interpretation. Our goal is to highlight indigenous contributions to global knowledge while encouraging further research and respect for the diverse cultures behind these innovations. Number 3. Snow goggles, ancient eye protection. In the Arctic, blindness could mean death. The Inuit faced a dangerous natural threat, snow blindness, caused by intense sunlight reflecting off endless white ice and snow. Without protection, prolonged exposure could temporarily blind hunters, leaving them vulnerable in freezing conditions. Their solution was brilliantly simple. They carved goggles from bone, driftwood, antler, or leather, shaping them to fit tightly against the face. Instead of large eye openings, they cut narrow horizontal slits. These slits dramatically reduced the amount of sunlight entering the eye while still allowing clear forward vision. The principle is identical to modern sunglasses: limit light exposure, reduce glare, preserve sight. Some designs even included carved patterns around the slits to further control light diffusion, an advanced understanding of optics long before modern science formalized it. Today's polarized sunglasses use synthetic materials and advanced coatings. But the core idea, controlling light through narrowing exposure, was perfected centuries ago in the Arctic. A simple device, a powerful insight, proof that survival often produces science long before science names it. Number 4. Cable suspension bridges. Engineering without metal. High in the Andes Mountains, the Inca Empire faced a brutal geographic reality: deep canyons, raging rivers, and near-vertical cliffs. Instead of carving roads around nature, they built across it, using only braided mountain grass, known as ichu. Inca engineers constructed massive suspension bridges that stretched across gorges hundreds of feet deep. The grass was twisted into thin cords, the cords braided into thick ropes, and the ropes woven into main cables strong enough to carry people, animals, and goods. No iron, no nails, no steel reinforcement, just plant fiber, physics, and communal labor. These bridges were flexible by design. They swayed with the wind and absorbed movement, making them remarkably resilient in earthquake-prone regions, something many rigid stone structures could not withstand. Spanish explorers were astonished. At the time, Europe had few suspension bridges of comparable scale. One of these bridges, the Queshuachaca Bridge in Peru, is still rebuilt every year by local communities using the same ancient techniques, a living continuation of Inca engineering knowledge. What looks fragile is actually strength through flexibility. In a world before industrial metalworking, the Inca mastered tensile engineering, proving that innovation does not require steel, only understanding. Number 5. Raised bed agriculture, sustainable farming. In the wetlands of Central America, farming seemed impossible. But the Aztec and other indigenous farmers refused to see swamps as obstacles. They saw opportunity. They built chinampas, raised soil beds constructed by layering mud, vegetation, and organic matter over shallow lake beds. Wooden stakes anchored the plots, and trees were planted along the edges to stabilize the soil. Over time, these floating islands became some of the most fertile farmland in the world. The surrounding canals provided constant natural irrigation. Nutrient-rich lake sediment replenished the soil. Crops grew densely and year-round, producing astonishing yields. In fact, chinampas were so productive that they helped sustain the massive population of Tenochtitlan, one of the largest cities on Earth in the 15th century. This was not primitive farming. It was ecological engineering, balancing water control, soil renewal, and biodiversity. Today, modern sustainable agriculture echoes these same principles: raised beds, water management systems, nutrient cycling, and regenerative farming. What began as indigenous innovation in wetland ecosystems now informs global conversations about food security and climate resilience. Ancient knowledge, modern relevance. Number 6. Baby bottles, early infant care technology. Innovation is not only about bridges and boats. Sometimes, it's about keeping a child alive. Among the Haudenosaunee, often referred to as the Iroquois Confederacy, caregivers developed early feeding bottles made from dried animal bladders or hollowed gourds. Bird quills were carefully shaped and inserted to function as soft, controlled flow nipples. These were not crude substitutes. They were designed with intention, allowing infants to be fed safely when mothers were unavailable or when supplementary feeding was necessary. This reflects advanced practical knowledge of infant nutrition, sanitation, and family health. In environments where survival depended on community strength, childcare was not secondary, it was foundational. Modern baby bottles may use silicone and sterilized plastic, but the principle remains the same: controlled delivery of nourishment to protect infant health. Long before industrial manufacturing, indigenous societies were already developing technologies centered on care, continuity, and community survival. Sometimes the most important inventions are not the loudest. They are the quiet ones that ensure the next generation lives. Number 7. Anesthetics and pain relief, indigenous medicine. Long before pharmaceutical companies and clinical trials, indigenous healers were practicing sophisticated pain management. Across North America and beyond, natural compounds were carefully studied, prepared, and administered with intention. Jimson weed was used in controlled contexts for its anesthetic and sedative properties during certain procedures, though powerful and dangerous if misused. Willow bark was used to reduce pain and fever. Its active compound, salicin, later inspired the development of aspirin in modern medicine. Capsaicin, derived from chili peppers, was applied to relieve muscle and joint pain, a method still used today in topical creams. These remedies were not random plant use. They were part of accumulated ecological knowledge passed down through generations: observation, experimentation, refinement. Modern pharmaceuticals often isolate, synthesize, and standardize what traditional healers first identified through lived experience. This does not mean all traditional medicine was identical to modern medical science, but it does mean that indigenous knowledge systems laid foundational insights into pain management and plant-based pharmacology. Long before laboratories named the compounds, healers understood their effects. Sometimes the roots of modern medicine quite literally began with roots. Number 8. Syringes, early medical injection technology. Long before modern hospitals, some indigenous healers developed pressure-based methods for delivering medicine directly into the body. Using hollow bird bones as tubes and animal bladders as flexible reservoirs, they could push liquid preparations into wounds or body cavities. This allowed more targeted treatment than simply applying medicine to the surface. These tools were simple, yet they demonstrate an understanding of controlled fluid delivery. Centuries later, in the 1850s, Scottish physician Alexander would introduce the hypodermic needle in Europe, enabling precise subcutaneous injections using metal needles and glass syringes. The materials changed, the precision increased, but the core concept, delivering medicine through directed pressure rather than surface application, had deeper roots. Modern injection technology refined and standardized what earlier healers had already explored: the idea that medicine could be administered beneath the skin for stronger effect. Innovation did not appear suddenly in the 19th century. It evolved. Number 9. Hammocks, comfort that conquered the seas. When Christopher Columbus arrived in the Caribbean in 1492, he encountered something unexpected: people sleeping above the ground in woven, suspended beds. These were hammocks, crafted by Taino and other indigenous Caribbean communities using cotton or plant fibers. Raised off the ground, they protected sleepers from insects, moisture, and uneven terrain, perfectly adapted to tropical climates. European sailors quickly recognized their practicality. On crowded ships, hammocks saved space, reduced movement during rough seas, and allowed better airflow below deck. Instead of rigid wooden bunks, sailors could sleep in swinging fabric cradles that adjusted naturally to the motion of the ocean. The design spread rapidly across European navies. What began as indigenous tropical adaptation became standard maritime equipment for centuries, and eventually a symbol of leisure and relaxation worldwide. A simple woven bed crossed oceans, changed naval life, and became global. Comfort, too, travels across borders. Number 10. Oral contraceptives, traditional reproductive knowledge. Long before pills and clinics, some indigenous communities understood how to manage fertility naturally. For example, certain tribes used the stone seed plant and other botanicals to reduce fertility. These plants were prepared carefully, and their effects monitored across generations, reflecting deep knowledge of reproductive health and natural pharmacology. This wasn't accidental. It was intentional practice rooted in observation, trial, and ecological understanding. Modern oral contraceptives may use synthesized hormones, but the principle, using plant-based compounds to influence fertility, has been known for centuries. It's a powerful reminder that indigenous medicine encompassed not just illness treatment, but holistic family and societal health. Ancient wisdom, carefully observed, informs modern science more than we often realize. Number 11. Mouthwash, natural dental care. Long before commercial toothpaste and mouthwash, indigenous communities maintained oral health with local plants. The goldthread plant was commonly used to treat oral pain, soothe inflammation, and combat infections. Chewing or rinsing with extracts from the plant reduced microbial buildup, essentially acting as a natural mouthwash. This practice reflects careful observation of plant properties and an understanding of preventative care. It wasn't just about treating pain. It was about maintaining health in daily life. Centuries later, commercial dental products would replicate the same principle, using antimicrobial compounds to protect the mouth. What was once a local, natural solution became a foundation for global oral hygiene practices, showing again that indigenous knowledge often laid the groundwork for modern innovations. Closing reflection: the legacy that changed the world. These innovations reveal a powerful truth. Indigenous peoples were not merely surviving. They were inventing, experimenting, and mastering science through deep understanding of nature. Many technologies we consider modern are built upon knowledge developed long before the modern age. The story of human progress is incomplete without recognizing indigenous innovation. History is full of hidden stories like this, stories that reshape what we think we know. Thanks for watching ModeHub Tales, bringing untold history to life. Subscribe now to uncover more hidden stories that shaped the world.